So for each section of the workbook, I'm going to create a video that hopefully very briefly gives you a sense for what the overall idea of that section of the workbook is. I won't necessarily explain how to do everything, but I think it's useful to start with an understanding of what the goal of that section of the workbook is. The first section, section 1.1, Statistical Reasoning, the overall goal is to give you a sense of what types of questions we're going to be able to answer using the techniques from this course. And the types of questions that we can answer, we refer to as statistical questions because they're questions that require statistics to answer. That is, you can't really definitively answer them in any reasonable fashion. And I want to give you an example of a statistical question. And the question that I'll go with is, what is the average number of credits that full-time college students in the United States are taking this semester? So we want to know, what is the average number of credits that full-time college students in the United States are taking this semester? Now, this is a statistical question because we can't possibly actually answer this. It has an answer. If we could somehow get a list of every single full-time college student in the US and we could figure out how many credits they were taking, we would have an answer to this question. But that's not conceivable. There isn't some list of all full-time college students in the United States, and that's way too big of a group of people to actually contact and find out, even if we had a list of all of them. And so there's a lot of pieces to this question that make it a statistical question. So we're talking about a population. So our population in a statistical question is the group of people or things that we actually are asking the question about. So in this problem, we're asking a question about full-time college students in the United States. That's the group that we're interested in understanding. And the reason that we can use statistics and mathematics to answer this question is because there's a variable describing that population. So a variable is something that assigns a number or non-numerical value to each individual in the population. And in this case, the variable is number of credits taken this semester. A variable assigns a number or non-numerical value to each individual in a population, but this population is huge, right? There are millions of full-time college students in the United States. So those numbers are way too much to deal with. And so we summarize them using what's known as a parameter. A parameter is something that summarizes a variable for the whole population. And in this case, our parameter is the average number of credits. We take these millions of full-time college students in the US. They each have a number of credits they're taking this semester. We take the average that outputs a single number. This is what we're interested in. Our question is about this parameter. What is the average number of credits that full-time college students in the US are taking this semester? We can't possibly answer this question, as I've said before. And so what we do is we try to get an approximate answer using what's known as a sample. So a sample is any subset of the population. So for instance, we could get a sample that consisted of maybe 100 full-time college students in the United States. Now, this is a much smaller group of students, and so it would actually be feasible to figure out how many credits they were taking and figure out their average number of credits. That brings us to this idea of a statistic. And so I guess in this case, maybe let's say we decided this was going to be 100 students. And the statistic is going to be the average number of credits for the sample. So in this case, these 100 students. So the idea here is, let's say that for this, let's suppose that for this subset, for this 100 students, the average number of credits they're taking this semester is 12.4. That would be a statistic. It describes the sample, and it doesn't really answer this question that we're trying to answer, because it's just an average for this group of 100 students. And we really wanted the average for all college students. But if from the sample we found that the average number of credits that students were taking was 12.4 this semester, hopefully that's an estimate of the parameter. And this is the general approach to statistical questions. We have a question about a population. We can't possibly answer it for various reasons, often because the population is large, or we can't access the population. We don't have a list of all college students in the US. And so we try to answer the question by instead getting a sample, calculating the thing that we want to know about the population just for the sample, and using that as an estimate of the parameter, an estimate of the value for the population. So that's the whole idea of section 1.1, is getting this understanding of what a statistical question is and these 5 ingredients to statistical questions, what they mean and how they apply in different situations.